Let me start sharing my screen. Today we're going to be covering how to file an application for pandemic unemployment assistance. And just to provide a little recap, pandemic unemployment assistance was one of the programs that was created through the CARES Act of 2020, providing unemployment insurance benefits to people who don't normally qualify for unemployment insurance benefits. And the majority of these people are those who work in self-employment or what are commonly called gig workers, which is people that work like by contract or small assignments, things like that. This PUA assistance from the CARES Act of 2020 was supposed to last, or did indeed last, up until the week of ending on January 26. Now, with the Continued Appropriations Act, or Continuous Assistance Act, how it's also called, the U.S. federal government, the Congress, extended the time that a person can get PUA benefits. So now people can get, everyone that was in PUA before can get up to 11 additional weeks of PUA. So if the person didn't have a PUA claim before, so for last year, they can still submit a PUA claim. Now, they will not be able to backdate all the way as of their COVID impact date in some cases. We can only file a claim effective as of December 6th for these people that start a new PUA claim this year. All right, so the first thing that we do is we go to unemployment.oregon.gov, and under quick links, we select the online claim system option, and then we click on pandemic unemployment assistance. Okay, and in here, we're gonna enter the information, but I'm gonna go to my other screen so that I can show you a demonstration, live demonstration. Okay, so we're gonna enter the claimant's social security number and their PIN number. If the person doesn't have a PIN number because they have never filed for PUA, or if you get a message in here indicating that there's no registered account in the system, then we would have to go to the don't have an account, sign up. Let me see if there's a way that I can hide this control. I don't know. So, okay. So let's see. Let me show you how that one works. So we would go in here to don't have an account, sign up, and we will enter the claimant's information. Okay, the claimant's first name, last name, email, phone number, date of birth, social security number, and then it will prompt them to create a PIN number. We enter the gender and the preferred language for communications. Okay, now let me go back in here where I was. Okay, right. So we have the social, we have the PIN number, then we click sign in. And if the person wants to file a new claim, we select the first option. If they want to file a weekly claim, we select the second option. So for people who already have a PUA claim from last year and they tell you that they want to restart their claim for PUA, there is no restart as it is, as there is for regular unemployment insurance. So if someone says that they want to restart their PUA claim, the only thing you need to do is to start claiming weeks of benefits again. And we will go over that after we do the run through the file your new claim. Okay, and in this case, it's telling me that this social has been used to file a new claim already. And so if you get this, it means that the claimant has filed a claim already. So you may want to then file for a week of benefits, file a weekly claim. In this case, we're just gonna click continue, and we will enter the claimant's name and their last name and their date of birth, their address, state, their phone number, let's say. And then the email address is, it's very important to capture their email address because it helps staff if they need to communicate because there's an issue in the claim that needs to be resolved. It does help a lot. So to the extent possible, right? If the claimant doesn't have an email address, well, there's nothing else we can do. But if they do, then it's very important to capture that in here. And what is their preferred method of contact? Is it if it is through phone or through email, their gender, and if they are Hispanic or Latino, their race. And it's important that you read all the information in all the screens. Again, even if it look like a lot, it's very important that you read that to the claimant. Then we click next. It's going to prompt for the address verification and tell you how the postal office would have this address, and you can select to use the postal preferred address or keep the one that you already input. If it is too different from what the claimant told you, you want to confirm that with the claimant, confirm the address with the claimant. All right, and then we click next again. Okay, and now we need to capture the claimant's employment record for the last 18 months. And we click add. So if this claimant had worked for an employer, we will select employment. If this claimant was working for themselves, so they had a business, then we will select self-employment. For the employment, we need to capture the employer's name, the employer's phone number, the address, their city, state, zip code, and when they started working for this employer. When was the last day that they worked for this employer? Say. Okay. Then we click accept. If they worked for more than one employer, then we will just select that, select this button to continue to add employers. And it could be that they worked for an employer and they also had their self-employment. So we want to make sure that they give us all the information, all their employer information. Okay, then we click next. And now we're going to answer the eligibility questions. And there are a lot of them. Again, we want to make sure that we read all the information to the claimant. So were you scheduled to start a new job and do not have a job or are unable to reach the job as a direct result of the COVID-19 public health emergency? So this is wanting to know if they were impacted, if their unemployment is actually caused by the COVID-19 public health emergency.
Lima, I have a couple questions. Sorry that I interrupt you. Claudia is asking if this application needs to be done once per year. And Monica is asking for people that lost their house because of the wildfire, perhaps they are living at hotels now, do they need to provide the real address or the hotel address since that's the place where I'm living now?
Okay, so for the first question, and I know that it is kind of confusing, and I know that, a lot of claimants have that question, and it's because we always say that the unemployment insurance claim expires after 52 weeks or 1 year, and after that, for regular unemployment insurance, we do need them to file a new claim. Now, for PUA, it's different. For PUA, there's just the one claim. So if they filed last year, they stay with that same initial claim, and we just need to claim weeks of benefits on that claim. Unless they didn't file for a claim last year, in which case then we need to file a new claim for them. But if they already filed a PUA claim, then they just need to claim weeks of benefits. And for the second question, so people that were affected by the wildfires are different. So when the wildfires happened, an emergency declaration was issued, and through that emergency declaration, the federal government assigned funds of disaster unemployment assistance. And that is a program that runs through FEMA. So if the person was affected by the wildfires, they were, instead of claiming PUA, they would most likely claim DUA, or disaster unemployment assistance. And that is another unit, and they are handling all those, and information for that can be found on our website. So there's that, but anyway, if the person doesn't have an address for any reason, and they are living in a motel or something, we do still need them to provide a good mailing address, and an address that we can establish some sort of contact with them, because many of our communication still goes through mail, like their notice of entitlement, like when they are told whether they qualify for PUA or not, that's gonna come in a letter in the mail. So what we want to do in that case is make sure that at least we are getting an email address from them. And also, if you have this claimant with a situation like that, I would advise that after you file the PUA application, then go to the contact us form and send a message through that explaining the issue, that they don't, that address, whatever, they're not living on their home and they're just living elsewhere, etc.
We have a couple more questions. Could people applying for the pandemic unemployment assistance, could they use the COV address on their application, the community-based organization?
I don't have an answer to that question. I can check that. But again, if you are filing, well, it's just that we would need still an address at least. Yeah, we would need to capture an information for the claimant. I will get more information on that and get back to you probably in our weekly, well, bi-weekly meetings, and then let you know so you can, yeah, you have that information.
Okay. Sounds good. Then I will keep the questions and then I will ask you then so you can complete the training.
Okay. All right. So, and then we also have, so if the person, okay, let's say they said yes, that they were unable to start a new job or don't have a job or cannot reach the job because of COVID-19, then we will enter the date they were expected to start work, or the date that the new job closed, and the name of the business. Okay. And then we have, did you apply or receive or would be eligible to receive if you have ever applied for unemployment compensation under any state or federal law. So if they got unemployment insurance benefits in Oregon, any other state or Canada, then we will say yes, and we will enter when they started that claim for regular unemployment insurance, in what state or country, and if they were approved for payment. So if they received benefits from that claim, or they, well, if they were issued a notice telling that that their claim was valid. Okay. And then they are asked if any amounts for lost wages due to an illness or disability. And if yes, then we will ask them if they were approved to receive payment. And if so, I'm pretty sure it asks for the date. Yeah. Then what dates they will be receiving payment. And then if they are receiving any type of private income protection insurance, and if so, if they have been approved for payment, and what are the dates that they would be receiving that private income protection insurance. And then any amount as a supplemental unemployment benefits. And then if so, they will have to provide who is administering the benefits, and if they have been approved for payment, and if so, what dates they're going to be receiving payments. Then if they are receiving retirement pay, and it's important that we let them know that this question does not refer to Social Security. So this retirement pay is a pension or retirement pay from an employer, and it's not referring to Social Security. And then if they did or will be receiving payment within the next 12 months, then we will click yes.
Excuse me, Zuleman. Please, if you guys aren't muted, please mute yourself really quick. Angeles, could you please mute yourself?
Sí.
I muted, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, Zuleman.
Okay. Then, so if they will be receiving retirement pay from an employer within the next 12 months, then they need to provide the name of the employer that maintain or put in money into this retirement plan. Now they're asked if they have been diagnosed with COVID-19 or are experiencing any symptoms of COVID-19 and are seeking a medical diagnosis. If yes, then they will be asked to say when they were diagnosed or began experiencing COVID-19 symptoms. Then if a member of their household has been diagnosed with COVID-19, if they say yes, then they need to say when this household member was diagnosed with COVID-19. And then they're asked if they are taking care of a family member or a member of their household that has been diagnosed with COVID-19, and if so, when was this member diagnosed? If there's a child or other person in the household for whom they have the primary caregiving responsibility that is unable to attend school as a direct result of COVID-19 public health emergency, and such care is required for them to work. So in this question is if they have a small child and the child is unable to go to school because the schools are closed, and they need to take care of the child, and taking care that they don't really have the option to just leave the child alone at home. They need to take care of the child and therefore they cannot work because of that, then the answer to this question is going to be yes. And if they say yes, they need to enter the name of the school or any other facility who would take care of the child or the other person that needs care. They would enter the name of the facility here and the day that the facility closed. And question 11 is, have you become the breadwinner or provider of major support for a household because the head of the household has died as a direct result of COVID-19? This is if they they had to, the person, the major provider of the household died, and therefore they have to become the major provider of the household. If they say yes, they need to enter when they became the major provider for the house. And then has your place of employment permanently or temporarily closed as a direct result of COVID-19, of the COVID-19 public health emergency? If they say yes, they need to enter the name of the business, the date that the business closed, and if this employer has called them back to work. Okay, and then question 13 is if I am self-employed or an independent contractor and experience a significant reduction of services because of the public COVID-19 public health emergency. So this is, they had their own business or were a service provider, and they because of the COVID-19 public health emergency, they haven't been able to provide the same amount of services that they were providing before. So let's say they have been experiencing a lot of appointment cancellations or service cancellations that has led to a significant reduction on the services that they perform. And if so, they're gonna select yes, enter the name of their business and the date that their business started experiencing this significant reduction of services. So the day of the business started experiencing the significant decrease in the services. Have you quit a job as a direct result of COVID-19? So this is if for some reason they needed to quit the job because of the COVID-19 public health emergency, and this it would be if, for example, they needed to stay at home to provide care for their child, and they were not able to get to an agreement with the employer, and then they decided to quit the job. That would be an example. And we would enter the date that they quit and the name of the business, so the name of the employer, and the reason that they voluntarily left work. And also this could be their self-employment as well. If they were not able to continue to work in self-employment, then it would be self-employment in here. Okay, and it's important, the answer to this question in letter C, it's very important that they provide the reason they voluntarily left. Okay, are you unable to reach your place of employment because you have been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine due to concerns related to COVID-19? If they have been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine, so this would be people that are at a high risk with the COVID-19, then they would select yes and enter the reason why they are unable to reach the place of employment and the date that they started being unable to reach the place of employment. And now, are you unable to reach your place of employment because of a quarantine imposed as a direct result of the public health emergency? And this question is referring to, for example, the stay-at-home order from the government that advised everyone to stay at home unless it was some emergency trip that you had to do. So if they live in a county that this is still the case, then they will select yes and enter the reason why they are unable to reach the place of employment. So it's just kind of explain the answer to the question. And then when this started. And do you have the ability to continue to receive payment from your employer while working from home? So this would be if the employer offered them the option to work from home and they would select yes or no. If yes, then we want to know if they would be allowed to work the same amount of hours that they were working previously when they were working physically in the employer or with the employer. And if they say yes, we want to know if their rate of pay is the same as it was previously. So if they're going to be earning the same amount of money. And why then is it that they are not working from home? So if they have the opportunity to work from home and they have the opportunity to work the same amount of hours at the same rate of pay, then we want to know why is it then that they are not working from home. And then are you receiving paid sick leave or other paid leave benefits? If they are receiving sick pay, vacation pay, or any other paid leave benefits, we want to know who is providing the paid leave, what dates this paid leave covers, what is the amount that they are receiving, and if it's per hour, per week, per month, and what are the hours of paid leave that they are receiving. So how many hours per week or per month or in total they would be receiving from that paid leave benefits.
And, sorry, Sulimar, and is that amounts, gross amounts, or?
Yes, this is going to be the gross amount. Okay. And then they're asked to provide the reason they are unemployed. And this question, it would seem as if it was something kind of optional, but it's very important that we capture this information to the extent possible, because it does help when processing the application. So this is just asking why is the reason that they are unemployed, and it could be because they haven't been able to find a job, or because they are in a high risk population and they were advised to just stay at home to prevent from getting COVID or things like that. And now they will be asked if they are currently self-employed. And if they say yes, they're gonna have to complete section D. Otherwise, they don't have to complete the self-employment section, and then we would just continue. But in this case, we're going to say yes to show you how that one looks like. Okay, let's see. I missed one or more fields. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see. Now, if the person answers no to all of the eligibility questions, we will have this warning. And it will say that they have not identified a COVID-19 related situation that shows that they're currently unemployed, unable to work, or unavailable for work due to COVID-19. And this having a COVID-19 impact reason is a requirement for getting PUA. So they are being prompted to go back and check the answers that they provided before continuing. And if the information is accurate the way it was entered, then they just need to continue. Otherwise, we need to update the answers. So let's just say in here that yes, this person was scheduled to start a new job and was not able to do it. And the day that they were expected to start the job was on, let's say, on May 5, 2020. And the day that the job was closed, let's say May 4, 2020, and the name of the business. Now we click next. Okay. Now, since we said that this person is currently self-employed, we need to answer the self-employment information. And the first question here asks if at the time of the pandemic, was this self-employment their primary occupation and primary means of livelihood? So they will answer yes to this question if the majority of their income came from their self-employment. If they just had this self-employment as a job on the side that was kind of complementary with their other employment that was for a business, another business that's not theirs, then they would just answer no to this question. Okay, and if they answer no, they need to explain how was that dynamic between their self-employment and their regular employment. Now, if their self-employment was their primary means of livelihood, then we need to know what kind of services they performed. So if it was construction services or any other, what was the nature of the services that they used to perform? And in this case, let's gonna say construction. And if their business had a name, then we want to get that information. If not, and they just did business as their own, so they would just, you would just say no. Okay, and then they are being asked if they filed a business return for, in this case, since we are filing a new application, it would be for the tax year of 2020. Okay. Or if they have from a prior, from 2019, then we would still say yes in here. And what kind of return is it that they filed? And if it's not here, then we would say other. And now, do you determine how the work is to be performed? So if they will say yes to this question, if they are the ones that say how, that determine how they're gonna perform their work. If somebody else tells them how they're going to do their job, then that is most probably an employer-employee relationship. But anyway, we just want to know, you can ask further clarifying questions, because I do know that this one of the questions that does cause some confusion, because for example, if someone is a contractor, they may be confused because they do get that input from the person that they are providing the service to, as to how they want the work to be performed. But this question is more oriented towards this person as a service provider having the complete authority to determine how they are going to perform the work or the services they will be providing. And so let's, okay, let me see. Let me see if I can make this clear. So let's say this, this person is providing a service for somebody else, and the other person that is contracting them tells them what they want. But our claimant is the one that decides how they will provide this service that the person wants. So in that case, we will select yes to this question. Okay, the next one is, do you have the right to hire someone to help you perform your services? So if our claimant can and has the authority to hire someone to help them complete this service, then we will select yes. And if so, we want to know if that claimant can discharge whoever they hired to help them perform the services. Okay. Now, do you determine where the work is going to be performed? And this is if the claimant has the complete authority to say, I will work there or not, or they have to follow the instructions from somebody else that is telling them they need to go to a specific place to perform the services. If they can determine where they will perform the work, then we will select yes to this question. Otherwise, then we will select no. And if they determine their rate of compensation, so they put a number on the services, so they determine how much they are going to charge for the services, then we would say yes, otherwise no. And then we want to know if they have investment, if they had invest money in tools, equipment, software, or any other thing that would help their business. And if they have, we want to know how much money they have invested. If, let's say, they have invested in tools, then it could be 1,000 or less or more, but we want to capture an estimate of how much they have invest in equipment. And now, can this company terminate them? So if they work for themselves, usually, unless they have a corporation and they are an employee of the corporation, that's a whole other thing. So we want to know if these company that they, or this business that they are providing service under, can terminate them. So if the person has a complete authority over their business, then the company wouldn't be able to terminate them, because they are the ones that make the decision, and they would be otherwise terminating themselves. Okay. And now they're asked if they have more than one client. If yes, then we want to know how many clients they have. Okay, and then we click next. And now they are being asked if they want their taxes withheld automatically and reported to the pertaining agencies. If they want the 10%, the federal taxes withheld, then a 10% from their weekly benefit is going to be withheld and reported automatically. And if they want state taxes withheld, then the 6% of the unemployment benefits is going to be withheld automatically and reported to the agencies. Now let's say yes, and next. And this, it's important to pay attention to those two questions, because they will default to no. And if the claimant does want the taxes being withheld automatically, we will have to select those. Okay, now, so as I said earlier, they will only, if this is their first claim, their first PUA claim, they will be able to go back only as far as December 6th for that claim. And we will enter in here the weekly claims. So if, let's say, they are claiming today, February 17, and they want to start claiming as of the first week of January, then we will go here to the calendar and enter, go back into January and enter the 2nd, that was the first week of January. And if they worked during that week, we will enter how many hours they worked. And if they didn't, then just 0. If they earned any money, we will enter the gross earnings, so earnings before deductions that they had, let's say 0, and the type of earnings. So if it was from employment, from self-employment, or combined, they have some earnings from their self-employment and then some earnings from their regular employment. Okay, well, employment, accept. And then Okay, so we have the first week of January there. Now, if they want to continuously claim all the weeks since January, then you have to enter each one of them individually in here. And after you're done entering all the weeks that this claimant would like to claim, they will be asked some questions to see their eligibility for those weeks of benefits. So for the weeks claimed above, did you apply or receive any uninsurance payments for loss of wages due to illness or disability? If yes, then what type of payment, what period this payment is covering from, and up until when? If they received any payments from private income protection insurance, then we will say yes, the type of payment and the period it covers, otherwise no. If they received any payments from supplemental unemployment benefit or sub, if they did, then yes, and the period it covered, otherwise no. Were any amounts payable to you from any retirement, pension, annuity payments from a plan contributed or maintained by an employer you received payment from in 2019. So this is if they have been receiving payments from pension or retirement pay from an employer that they worked for in 2019 or 2020, then they will select yes and enter the type of payment and what period it covers for. Otherwise, no. And then they are asked if they were able and available for work during this week. And this is going to be based on our current state requirements that say that the person is considered able and available for work as long as they are willing to return to work full-time, part-time, or temporary work as soon as the emergency declaration is over. Let's say yes. And are you currently impacted by the COVID-19 public health emergency? And this is if they are still not able to work because of the COVID-19 public health emergency. And if so, then we need to enter an explanation, like how is it that COVID-19 is still impacting this person? And then they are asked if they refused any work during any of the weeks claimed above. If they did, if they were offered work, but they say, no, I'm not going to work, then we need to say yes to this question, otherwise no. And this very question in here is very, very important. We make sure we don't skip that question. I mean, all questions are important, but this will determine their eligibility for the week. So it's very important. Okay. And now this is the information from the Rely card. And you can read this information. You know, I will see if there's a way that I can get, we do have a script for our claim staff for this, and it may be shorter. So let me make a note in here to get the script, and I can send that to you because it will take less of your time. Okay. And then once you finish providing the disclosure for Rely card, you click in this check mark in here and then click next. And this statement is very, very, very important that you read to them, that they understand that making the certification is under penalty of perjury and that intentional misrepresentation in order to obtain payments for which they are not entitled to receive may be subject to criminal prosecution. And you can also make the clarification that it is their responsibility to provide you with accurate information. And then click next. Okay, now, so in here, they have the opportunity to upload documents that may be needed. And example of these documents is proof of earnings. They can send that to you, I don't know, through an email address or any other way that you have to get that information from the claimant, and then you can upload that file in here. Also, and speaking of the proof of earnings, I do want to make the note in here. So for PUA, and this only applies for PUA, if they want to get more than the minimum of 205, they need to provide proof of earnings information in here that shows that they earned more than 16,480. And also in here, since the because of the new act, the CAA Act, now claimants need, the federal government is requiring us to get employment verification from claimants. So if they have that right away, you can submit the information along with the initial application. And this verification would be, for example, pay stubs that they have that show that they were employed as of their COVID impact date. So if, for example, they said that they were first impacted by COVID, so they were not able to work because of COVID as of May 5, then they can submit a pay stub that covers that period of May 5. And if it is if they say that they were about to start work, then they could submit an offer letter. We do have that information of what kind of documents we can request for or are being requested from the claimants. I can try to find that when I'm done, if we still have some time, but we do have that on our website. But anyway.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Excuse me, Sulimar, sorry. For example, housekeeping person or landscaping or stylist, how they don't receive pay stubs. So what type of proof they will need to provide?
Yes, let me see. I will get, I do have a slide, but since I had some issues earlier today, let me see if I can get that. I had saved it so I could show all of you that information. Give me just a second. Let me see. Let me see if I can get that. Okay. I can't find it in here, but I will get that slide to you. I will send it to Lucy and Kelsey, so they can forward it to all of you, just so we don't take a lot of time from the training.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me make the note in here. Oh, also in here, if the person is a non-US citizen, they can also get their documents in here. And we do encourage, so not everyone who is a non-US citizen will be asked to provide the work authorization information. But to prevent further delays, I advise that they attach that information with the initial application just in case we need it, because that's not our decision. We do have to follow some federal guidelines for that, and that's why we don't really know like who's gonna be asked to provide that information and who isn't until we run the verification and everything with our procedures. So if they have that information, it will be way better to just upload it with the initial application. Okay, and then this is additional information about employment. So if they don't have their tax document available right now, they can provide them later and give a sworn statement of their earnings now through the application. Oh, this is nice. If they give a sworn statement of your earnings during 2019, then their benefit amount will be based on this information, and they will have 21 days from submitting this initial application to provide their proof of earnings. If they do not provide the information required within 21 days, they may have an overpayment of benefits and may have to pay back the additional benefit amount they received. So this is a new button that was added to this application, which is really great. And this is, again, because we have received this new requirement, we have been now recently required to get this information from the claimants. So this will act as a sworn statement. And I think this goes to your questions, Sophia, of how would they, if they don't have the pay stubs, how would they prove employment? So they would fill in this information and say if they were full-time, part-time, commission only, just a seasonal employee or a temporary employee. And then if they received a W-2 or not. If they did not, then we want to know if they have any other way to prove their income. If not, then we want to know the, well, no, this would be for the W-2. Yeah, well, the name of the employer. And if you have other proof. If they have other proof of this income, such as bank statements, they can enter that information in here. Now, if they were self-employed, then we want to know what type of self-employment. So if they had this business registered and it was a partnership, a limited liability corporation, a corporation, if they were a sole proprietor of this business, independent contractor, or if it doesn't apply to them. And if they filed a tax return for the business, what was the name of the business, and the total net earnings. So after all the expenses of the business, what was the total net earnings for the business in 2019. Okay, and that is if they have that information available. Okay, and now they need to certify that the information provided is accurate to the best of their knowledge, and that if they fail to provide the tax documents within the next 21 days, they may be overpaid benefits. And also that if they intentionally provide false information, they may face penalties up to including criminal prosecution. Okay, and then you read this statement to the claimant and click I certify. And in here, they are being asked if they are a citizen of the United States. If they are not, then they're asked if they are in satisfactory immigration status. And they are asked for their US CIS number or the A number. Or in some cases, if they only have the I-94 number, that can go in here as well. And in here, you will enter the claimant's number, and you can also, I would say, enter your the name of your organization or the acronym for your organization, just for tracking purposes. And it's telling you that the application is ready to be submitted, but at this point, you have not submitted the application yet. So it's important that if you want to review the application, you click review. And if the application is okay and ready to go, then just click submit. And again, it's giving out the it's letting us know that the people have up to 21 days from the date of the application. Advisory, that was the word I was looking for, to submit their proof of their documentation. So again, since they are submitting this application, this new PUA application, they only have 21 days. For people that already submitted their PUA claim last year, they have a bit more time. But for people that are just submitting their initial PUA application now, they only have 21 days. Okay, and the application has been submitted. Okay, let me get this out of here just a moment. And we are gonna go now to okay. And now we're gonna go through the weekly claim. Okay, so again, we're going to select the second option for file a quick a claim of benefits if the person already has a initial PUA claim and they want to start claiming benefits again. Okay, we will be asked what's the claimant first name, their last name, and then what is the week that they are wanting to claim. So we can use this calendar here and select the dates. The starting date of the weeks, our weeks always start on a Sunday, they end on a Saturday. So if the person is wanting to claim a week from January because for some reason they were not able to, then we just go back here in the calendar, back or forth in the calendar to whichever week the claimant wants to claim. Let's say they want to claim for last week. It's going to be the week starting on February 7th, and it will list automatically the end date of that week.
And Sulimar, I have a question, sorry. I would like to because the system can take you step by step, and sometimes we even have an assistant right on the right corner, the bottom. But for practical examples, like a contractor, maybe someone who was going to change the roof, and then because of the pandemic, I mean, there are so many fine lines in here that can be misinterpreted, misunderstanding or misunderstood. Because have you been affected by the pandemic? It's like everybody has been accepted. There is no reason why you should answer no, but there are few you have to be careful and just make the consideration when you apply for you have been affected or not, right? So every step has a fine line to cross, and I'd like to hear about what is the profile of a regular claimer in here, person who have been working and have been submitting their claims some weeks, no response, so they stop claiming weekly. So they have few weeks they did, some others they don't, some others they are working or not. So what is the just regular profile of the people who we are going to serve?
Okay.
So very lost, that they don't know anything about the system, or they have an idea?
Well, as of right now, I understand that the people would have an idea of what to expect from PUA. You would probably, and this is really just a guess, but I think that you would probably get the majority of the claimants that you would get are going to be wanting to claim for a week of benefits on PUA. They would probably, many of them would probably already have their claim and would want to claim for a week of PUA benefits. And if, let's say, they missed claiming any week, with this weekly request, you are able to submit a claim for any week that they have missed claiming. It doesn't have like a limit as the way it is with regular unemployment, where they have to call if they want to submit a claim for back weeks. So to claim a weekly claim, submit a weekly claim for back weeks. In this, with this system, you can file the claim for back weeks. I believe you will also get maybe some claimants that they were not aware of how the pandemic unemployment assistance worked, and they may want to start a new claim just because they didn't understood, or they thought they wouldn't qualify for it. And the majority of the people are going to be those who wouldn't qualify for regular unemployment insurance. Maybe you get some people that they filed, they were unemployed and they filed for regular unemployment insurance, and they received a letter saying that their claim was not valid. So they just thought that there was no other option for them. So, and this will be people, as you were saying, that say that they were working on a roof or something, and that's the kind of service that they perform. And then people started canceling the services because they didn't want to get the exposure and whatnot. So these people would most probably qualify for pandemic unemployment assistance, because and their impact date would be still whenever they became unemployed, so whenever their services started to be affected by COVID-19. However, we won't be able to backdate that claim before that December 6th date. But anyway, they would probably be able to get all the remaining weeks depending on the answers, right? That's why I don't give like very specific yes or no, because it will depend on how they answer for the question. So does that provide a little bit of light on what to expect? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I hear a message about a client who says, I need help. I don't know how to do it. I have tried to apply. Maybe I didn't do it right. So maybe we can start all over again. And we cannot start all over again, right? We have to see what they did. And even though they haven't had an answer, eventually they will get paid, and we don't want to duplicate those cases. And what if we do? What if we help them to, because they did something and claim for a week, and then is it, what happen if we don't duplicate for them? Does the system can just erase the mistake and then keep going, or are we going to complicate the case for them, and it's going to be even worse? Or
yeah. So you don't have to worry about that. If let's say you submit an initial application for someone that already had a claim in the system, it's not really going to hurt them, because we have a way to know that the claim was already submitted. And if the claimant, let's say that they did submit a claim last year, but they didn't know how to, and everything was confusing, and that's why they have not received PUA benefits still. Let's say maybe they didn't complete the whole application and staff haven't been able to get to their claim yet to solve the issues on the claim. In that case, when the issues are solved, or when staff can get to that claim, they would be able to get all the benefits from the past weeks. And also, like, well, in the example that I was providing, if they filed for a regular UI claim and the claim was not valid and they didn't file for PUA because they thought they wouldn't qualify, or they didn't really understood how to fill the application, and they are doing that now, we can still backdate to the date when they file for the regular unemployment benefits. And in that case, then we would need, the best method would be to go through the contact us form. So if you have a claimant that is saying that, yes, I did file, but I don't know what happened, and I've been waiting and nothing has happened, we first want to see the status of the claim using the online claim system, check the status of initial claim, and check the weekly claim and other information. And if there's nothing there that let us know what could be going on or what is going on in the claim, then we want to file the contact us form, to submit the contact us form, so it can go to appropriate staff, and then the staff contact the claimant and solve all the issues that are in the claim. Okay.
And I'm sorry. So what about people who has been working, let's say, in a restaurant and then start doing the Uber? Can they go both, two application, once for their employee, for their job, the UA, And then the other one for the, do they need to make 2 initials and 2 different weeklies, or is it one or the other?
So a person cannot have both a regular UI claim and a PUA claim. If they qualify for regular UI, they will not qualify for PUA, because that's how the order works for the federal government. So that's what we have to do. And they don't get to choose which claim they want to get benefits from. So if they qualify for a regular UI claim, they will get those benefits. And if not, they would get PUA. Now, if the person is unsure because they received benefits from both, they worked on both employment and self-employment, then they would want to file for regular unemployment insurance. And then the PUA, they would get, the best way would be to wait to get the non-valid notice from the regular unemployment claim. And then that will let them know that they would potentially qualify under pandemic unemployment assistance. And let's see, what was the other part of the question? I don't remember. Was that it? Okay, so yeah, and we would, in that case, yeah, we would want them to file for the regular UI. Oh, and I remember, so with the Lyft and Uber and all the gig work, we do conduct an individual assessment. This is some information, like, we don't really need to go in depth, but that is because we need to figure out, and actually the questions that we have on the self-employment part of the PUA application are intended to determine if the person is actually an independent contractor or if they are employed. And in many instances, when they say that they perform gig work, that is this Lyft, Uber, and whatnot, in many instances, they could be considered an employee of that company. But that's something, this is just for informational purposes, but that's kind of like a more complex subject, and we don't want to get into that because it does get very complex. But just so you know, for some claimants that they perform gig work, it may take a little bit longer to decide whether they would fall under regular unemployment insurance or PUA, because our staff does need to kind of conduct that investigation, and there is specialized staff that do that automatically. Like, once the PUA application is submitted, it goes directly to them. They make that determination, and yeah, then it would let us know if the person qualifies for regular UI or PUA. Okay. All right. So for the weekly claim, we enter the date that this weekly claim, the date of the week, and then we click continue. And now the system wants to know if this person performed any work related to their normal self-employment during this week that we're claiming. If they did, then we will enter yes. And if they receive gross payment, whether we want to know if they receive gross payment, whether the services were performed during the week or not. And we will enter that amount in here. And was this work performed in an effort to go back to their activities for self-employment? If yes or no, we will select that information in here. In this case, let's say that no, they did not perform any work in self-employment. If they were not self-employed, we want to know if they worked during the week. If they did, we want to know the number of hours they worked and the gross amount they earned, whether even if the payment was received or not. So for self-employment, if they worked during the week or not, we want to know how much they receive, how much money they receive from their self-employment. So it could be that they didn't work in the week, but they did receive a payment from a work performed in a prior week. We want to capture that information and enter it in here. Now, for employment, we only want to know the amount they earned during the week. The amount that they will earn from the hours worked during the week. So for employment, if they worked, we want to know how much they will be earning, even if the payment will be received in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or regardless of when the payment will be received. If they worked, if they performed any work during the week, we want to know how much they will earn for that work performed in the week the job was performed. Okay, and now they will be asked the eligibility questions to see if they are entitled to payment during this week. And then again, it asks if they receive payments for illness, for or disability, insurance payments, and if they receive payments from a private income insurance, if supplemental unemployment benefits, or any retirement pension or annuity. If they were able and available to work during this week based on our current state requirements, and if they were caring for a family member or a member of their household that has been diagnosed with COVID-19. If they have been diagnosed with COVID-19 or are experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 and seeking a medical diagnosis. If they had a member of their household that was diagnosed with COVID-19. If there is a child or any other person in the household for whom they have the primary caregiving responsibility that is unable to attend a facility or a school that was closed as a direct result of COVID-19. And the second question is basically the same. 17 and 16 are very related. And then have they become the major provider of the household because of COVID-19, or they were unable to reach the place of employment because they were advised to self-quarantine. If they're unable to reach the place of employment because of a quarantine imposed as a direct result of COVID-19. If they were scheduled to start a new job, but do not have a job or are unable to reach the place of employment because of COVID-19. And then we have an explanation in here. And so this question is required by the US Department of Labor. And it is asking if they were going to start a job but didn't because of COVID-19, or if they were unable to get a job, to get to their new job because of COVID-19. So in the case, an example would be for public transportation was only available for essential workers. So let's say this person has to use public transportation, but then it was only available for essential workers. So they were not able to get to the new job because they didn't have a means for transportation. Okay, and let's say if yes, then has this employer called them back to work? If yes, then did they return to work already or not? And has a place of employment permanently or temporarily closed as a direct result of COVID-19? And this question is asking if they were laid off or lost their job, and the employer must have closed either temporarily or permanently. And this does not apply if the employer remained open and only require limited staff or reduced hours. So we will click yes, and if we do, then we have to enter if the employer has called them back to work, and if they return to work, yes or no. Now, when the person is self-employed or an independent contractor and experienced a significant reduction of services because of the COVID-19 health emergency, it is their responsibility to determine what significant means when referring to a significant reduction of services because of the COVID-19 public health emergency. And this question only applies to self-employed. So when you're asking the person if they have experienced a significant reduction of services, if they ask you what is a significant reduction of services, you will tell them that it is upon them to decide if they have experienced a significant reduction of services or not. So that would be on the claimant to decide if it's significant or not. And did you quit work as a direct result of the COVID-19 public health emergency? Yes or no? Did they refuse any work during the week? Yes or no? And it asks if they would like to tell us the reason why they are still unemployed, and we would capture that information in here. Okay. Again, we have the option to upload documents, and this could be the proof of earnings, proof of employment, work authorization documentation, or any document that we have requests from the claimant. It can be uploaded in here. And here we will enter the certification. We will read this information to the claimant and click I understand and I certify. Then click next. And again, this screen, if you get this screen, the application has not been submitted yet. So it's very important that if you need to review and share some information, click review. Otherwise, you click submit. And yep, that's it for the initial PUA and application, and for the weekly PUA application. Do you have any questions?
Hi, Zulimar. It looks like there was a question about, are there no extra questions if you answer yes to question 23? I think that's what it's asking.
Oh, do you remember what that one was? Okay, well.
If you can unmute yourself, it just says Evoker. I'm not sure who exactly. It was the self-employed question.
Let me see. Okay, let me go back. Okay, question 23. All right. What was the question again?
It said, are there no extra questions if you answer yes to number 23? So would there be any extra questions?
No.
Okay. Right, thank you. And then I'm trying to go back. Let's see what we got.
I can help you. I can help you, Kelsey.
Perfect, thank you.
Somebody asked if can someone file for pandemic unemployment assistance and disaster unemployment assistance?
Well, there is a possibility in which a person can have eligibility for both. However, it's not going to be at the same time. If they were found eligible for disaster unemployment assistance, they wouldn't be eligible for PUA for the same time frame. So yeah, so then that's kind of like a tricky one.
And let me see. And you already said that someone who's if a self-employee is eligible for pandemic unemployment cannot be eligible for regular unemployment, right?
Yeah, not a yes. Most likely, if the person only performs services as self-employed, they would not qualify for a regular UI claim.
Okay. And somebody asked, how would a person who is in a who is a daycare provider answer the question? And I believe they were asking about the rate of compensation or where the work is going to be performed.
Yes.
Well, if it's someone that works in providing care for others, the person has the, so this question would be if the person has the authority to say, I will go to that house to provide care for that person or not, or if they can choose not to go.
Okay, let me maybe clarify with, I think this one was Monica. I think that question asked Monica,
Yes.
you can unmute yourself and maybe you can ask your question.
Yeah, so I was a little bit confused on like, I think it was if they're, sorry, I don't have the question marked down, but the wording kind of confused me and I just wasn't sure because like a daycare provider, if the parent chooses to not bring in their child, then do they mark that they have that eligible or they're the one determining whether they work or not? Or like if they refuse to have children, I'm just kind of confused on like how someone would answer that part.
Okay, are you asking for, okay, it's just that there's two questions in here that have kind of similar language. So are you asking for the person that needs to stay at home to provide care for the children, or are you asking in the questions are directed towards determining if someone, the self-employment questions, are those the ones that you're talking about from the initial application?
Yeah, so it was when they were determining eligibility, like if they were the person, I think you were kind of alluding that if they were the one that determines how the service will be provided. I just think it's kind of tricky for like some jobs because they can decide like, yes, they'll be taking in kids, but then if a parent chooses not to bring their child to their daycare, it's how would they answer that? Because yes, they're like taking in people, but then if they are and people don't come, I'm just confused how I would determine that or how they would respond to that.
Yeah, so as the person that has daycare, you are the service provider, and you are, if you're remaining open and willing to receive children, it means that you are providing the service. Now, if the parents don't want to bring in the children, your services in this case have been reduced because you have the availability to provide the services, but then people aren't consuming in a way your service or using your services. So in this case, if the parent doesn't want to bring in the child, it is still, you are choosing to provide the service. So it wouldn't be, I think if I'm getting you correctly, you're confused to say with the authority part. So in this case, the authority part wouldn't play much because you are able to provide the services and you are willing to provide the services. So if a parent doesn't want to bring in the child, it's just the way it reflects for you. It's just that you that people aren't consuming your services the way they used to, but you still have the full authority. Now, if someone else, if you work at a daycare center and someone else is telling you what to do, or like it's telling you, okay, you have to go to this specific place and you have to work here from this time to this time, and you cannot choose how many kids you're gonna take care of, or things like that, then your authority within the business would be reduced. So those self-employment questions are directed towards determining if you have the authority to choose if you want to take care of the children or not. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Suleiman, somebody from Uval Cree asked, this is for employment, but what about self-employment? So the person from Uval Cree, can you unmute yourself and ask your question to Suleiman?
Yeah, that was earlier. It got answered. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, and then I have a question. What would happen if somebody is a refugee and the person is working, filing taxes, and has an A number, but doesn't have a work permit because it's under the refugee status? Could that person apply for regular or pandemic unemployment?
If they have refugee status, they are authorized. In most instances, they are authorized to work, and that comes along with the refugee status. I think when they have filed for asylum, that's when it's kind of different. But as far as I can remember, when they are a refugee, they come in here with that refugee status and they are authorized to work. So now, and let's take in this case, if the person, if they were not or are not a refugee and their work permit expired, they may have a valid UI claim because it would take, let's say they were authorized to work up until June of 2020, and they had a valid regular claim or PUA. Well, in this case, let me make it simple. So they had a regular claim and they have been getting benefits from regular unemployment insurance, and their work permit expired on June 20th of 2020. We would not be able to continue to pay unemployment insurance benefits after that date unless the person can submit documentation indicating that they have permit to work. And this is because it would be an availability. They would not be available to work because they don't have the permit. And yeah, this is federal guidelines that we have to follow, but that's basically how it works.
And then, for example, if somebody maybe in, I don't know, November, September applied for the pandemic unemployment, somebody who's a self-employed, but they never receive a response, and can they submit a new application for the pandemic unemployment assistance now and request retroactive for that month that they apply for, or can only be backdated to December 6th?
Okay, so in that case, they can submit the application again, and if it may be that there was some information missing on the claim and staff still haven't gotten to their claim to solve the issue. If there was an application for pandemic unemployment assistance on the system for this person, from, I don't know, November, I think you said, once we get to that claim, they will be allowed to file for the weeks and get payment for the weeks when they intended initially to claim. So they can submit a new pandemic unemployment assistance claim, but if they are sure that they claimed for PUA and still haven't gotten anything from us, the best thing would be to contact us through the contact us form, because it will make it, well, less confusing. As I said earlier, it's, if they still file the claim, they don't remember and still file the claim, it's gonna be okay. But for to make it easier for everyone and less complicated in the system, the best method would be to contact us through the contact us form and make sure to file the weeks of benefits. So if you get a claimant saying this, you want to make sure that the claims for benefits are in the system.
Thank you, Sulimar. And I have another question. For example, if somebody didn't work because of COVID and was had a regular employment and perhaps could qualify for the regular benefits, but didn't submit an application for last year. Let's say, I don't know, August or September was unemployed because of the COVID and could qualify for regular benefits. Could that, but now that person this time is working or went back to work, can that person submit an application for last year?
Okay, yes. So if they, and you say in this example, the person had submitted a regular UI claim that was not valid. No?
No, we didn't submit any claim.
Okay, then yes. Anyway, if it's for regular unemployment insurance, we don't have this limitation on backdating so far, because this limitation was a guidance that we received. So we have to do it that way. But for regular UI, then this person just need to contact us through the contact us form, so we can get everything fixed, and they would be able to claim for that time in last year. Even if they are working right now, they can still submit a claim and would potentially get payment for the back weeks.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question? Thank you.
Question about how would someone who's at high risk or taking care maybe of, or has someone in the household that is at high risk and doesn't want to work for that health reason, how would they answer the question about refusing to work? I think it's like, have you refused to work in the last week or something along those lines?
Well, so the refuse to work question would only apply if they were offered a job. So most likely, if this is a person that hasn't been working because they are taking care of a person in a high risk population or something like that, most likely they wouldn't have been looking for work as of yet. So they now, so that's why they would say no to this question, because it would only apply if they have been offered work. Now, if the employer called them back and they said, no, I cannot go to work, then it would count as refusing work and they would say yes to the question.
I have one more question. For example, if somebody applied for benefits last year for regular unemployment, and the person did their weekly claims, but never received a response saying, yes, you were approved for benefits, and never received a check or anything like that. And all of a sudden, they receive the unemployment form showing that a certain amount of money that was paid to the applicant, but the person never received the money. So what the person should do? Should they contact using the contact us form, or maybe the payment was sent by car and got lost, or what do you think could happen?
Well, if they received a 1099, that's the one you say, the tax form saying that they were paid benefits, but they never got those benefits. The best method, well, they can submit the contact us form, and that I advise them to do that too, but also they should submit the form for fraud, because well, they did submit the claim. Yeah. Yeah, in this case, since they did submit the claim, we want them using the contact us form to get a hold of us. Now, if they did not submit a claim last year and they still get the 1099 form saying that they got benefits, we want them to report the potential fraud using this form. They just go to, and this is important because, yeah, we've had many people doing this, getting the form indicating that they received benefits, but they didn't claim. So if you get this from someone, just for your information, in our website, under quick links, we click report unemployment insurance fraud. And then it would be the fraud referral form, just to fill in the fraud referral form. And this is available in English and Spanish.
Sulimar, I have a question on this one, because I had received a 1099-G form, and I called the person who helped me with my tax return, and she asked me, did you receive like a postcard? And I said, yes. And then she said, oh, that's fine, because if you receive a letter, is a sheet, that will be from unemployment, and then you will need to report that. But what I receive is this, is like a postcard. Is this from you guys or no?
I don't really work with the documents per se,
because
but
it is a 1099.
It's a tax form, and if it is saying that you received, does it tell you an amount of benefits received? Okay,
yes.
Well, in that case, and for anyone that, if you get claimants that are going through this, you want to go to our website and then go to General Public Reporting Fraud
Because I never
Applied for
submit an
benefits?
application for unemployment. I didn't.
Sophia, let me share something with you. Last year, I received a form like that, but it was because there was a surplus in taxes, that people pay taxes, there was a surplus. So the state sent me, like, I think it was like $99 they sent me. And then at the end of the year, they sent me a 1099 so I can pay federal taxes on that refund. Maybe it's one of those situations, but if it says unemployment specifically, maybe you should follow up what Suleiman is saying.
Yeah, no, it doesn't say unemployment. It
Oh.
says State of Oregon Department of Revenue. Yeah. But anyway, when I was studying on your web page and I saw that form, I said, oh my God, I received that. And then I called her and she said, no. If it is like a postcard, you don't need to be worried because yeah.
Okay. And it also, the one for unemployment is going to say 1099G. That's the form.
This one says
and it will say
1099G.
Okay, and we'll say also like that it's from the unemployment. Does it have the address from the unemployment? No.
No, it is Oregon Department of Revenue, 955 Center Street, Northeast Salem, Oregon. So.
Okay. Well, in that case, as Lucy was saying, you're probably fine, but just anyway, just to make sure with the claimants, we want them to know that this exists, and if they didn't receive any benefits from unemployment insurance and they get something from unemployment insurance saying that they got benefits, unemployment insurance benefits, then we need them to fill in this information and send it to us.